Well, today we have Bill Tara and Marlene Watson Tara joining us, and they've really had a revolutionary career, changing the way we think about diet and about the environment. And I'd heard about the microbiome, but not about the macrobiome. And actually, the cover of the book is a beautiful photograph, or it's not a photograph, I know, but the way in which we interrelate with nature and the environment. And I think is what, as you know, is emerging in our work, that genetics are pretty unimportant for most conditions apart from the environment. So for us, it's great that you've come. You also deal with very practical advice for individuals and families. But it's this big picture, I think, of the microbiome and our relationship that is of great interest to us.
Fantastic,
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's also interesting to me that you have explored traditional wisdom, ancient wisdom from around the world, including, of course, from Japan, where I have a lot of interest. And Bill, of course, was instrumental in setting up the Macrobiotic Institute with Michio Kushi. And I'm just curious, you both talk about this combining ancient wisdom with modern living, looking at the rise in chronic disease, anxiety, and disconnection today. What do you think modern society has fundamentally misunderstood about what it means to live well?
Well, I think the base of that answer would be our relationship to the environment. Because when you go back in time, people were closer and closer to the origin of their being, which was the food that they ate, the weather that they lived in, all of the environmental elements that conspired to create us from the beginning. And we've just divorced ourselves out from that. The world that we live in now and that we're still trying to adapt to is a synthetic world. And it was created by human beings, but it wasn't created according to the laws of nature. And the laws of nature are completely opposite of the world that we're trying to adapt to. So everything has been synthesized. The food that we eat is synthesized. The air that we breathe is synthesized. The water that we drink has been synthesized. Everything has been affected. And there's nothing wrong with affecting nature, but you have to do it according to the laws of nature. You have to try to duplicate or even sometimes improve on what nature's doing. And we haven't done that. We've made ourselves enemies to the world that we live in.
So what can we do as individuals? How can we change the way that we live in order to get back to our roots, as it were? What is the number one most impactful thing we can do?
Okay, for me, I'm the good news fairy. Bill's the bad boy. He puts the stuff out there and I'm thinking, okay, hang on, how can I make you happy here? So, Leslie, here's the thing. Muir, you know this as well. The centre of the home, the nerve centre of the home is a kitchen. And we make students and clients laugh and they think they have a kitchen because it came with the house, because they're living outside their domain of where health actually originates. And in terms of what Bill was mentioning there about the outside environment, the macrobiome, I focus on the microbiome. Macro, Mr. Macro, Mrs. Micro. So what are we doing? We're putting our microbiome out to the world to feed it with synthetic food. So what do? We get back into the kitchen. And tomorrow we're excited to talk about, do you know there's up to 30,000 edible plants to eat? In the world, we can make the most incredible food. So what we do is we say to people, right, let's go back to time. What do we need to do? Get you in the kitchen. Buy some beautiful plants, buy some whole grains, buy some beans, start experimenting. You probably already eat fruits, vegetables, maybe some grains, maybe a few beans. So, just start incorporating that more and more. Make your plant-based diet be like, if you like beef stroganoff, put some tempeh or tofu in. You just adapt and make these changes one step at a time and you feel amazing.
Let's come back. I agree completely with that, and I get that, but let's think of the bigger picture. And in addition to that, what can we do now to change the world?
The world?
We're speaking on the day when the election results come in. And it could be you vote for the Green Party or whatever. But there may be other organisations that we should be supporting, and we shouldn't give up. So, Bill, what do you feel about, say, the World Wildlife Fund, or what can we do to try to bring about a change in this hostile environment that we have created?
Well, I think people need to follow their own heart. I mean, whatever you can contribute to that is meaningful to you, whether it's animals or whether it's it's the environment, whatever it is, to get involved in that. But really, we hate to be repetitive, but you've got to start at your home.
Yes.
You have to start outside, inside, but in here. What happens in our gut is the most intimate connection we have with the environment. That's where the environment and us become one thing.
Yes.
Right? It's in that wall of the intestinal tract, and that's it. If we start doing that, I believe, and I observe, and I experience that we become more sensitive to the environment that we live in, and sometimes that sensitivity makes us uncomfortable. But it's out of that discomfort that can promote change, right? You have to be aware of what's going on, and we're distracted all the time.
Yes.
Our life is filled with distraction. Away, don't look at that, don't look at that, don't look at that, right? And I think that comes down to the choices that we make in every part of our life. Who we vote for, if there's anybody out there that's worth it, what kind of things we involve ourselves in socially and culturally, how we deal with life in general.
So you've also done very good work on getting into schools, because your own kitchen, you could transform your kitchen, and you could go macro politics, but somewhere in the middle, we need a revolution, don't we? And you have to recruit revolutionaries.
Exactly.
So tell us a bit about your school work.
Well, the youth work for us is just like the piece de resistance. Of course, we want to teach people about healthy aging. Bill's 84. He's my husband, but he says I call him my experiment, my project. Because I watch year after year, decade after decade. How's Bill aging? What can I do to help? I mean, I push him on his yoga mat every day, which he doesn't enjoy. But apart from that, in terms of the elder work that we do, we want to get in more and more to the youth, Muir, because the kids are the future. And and when we go to the schools, they absolutely love it, right? They love learning about plant-based nutrition. They love cooking with ingredients they've never heard of, Even the teachers, the headmasters, they come down, they taste what the kids have made, right? It's fantastic. They all get copies of the last book that I wrote, which was Go Vegan. And there's loads of education in there, so they understand protein. We break it down so simple to say, look, you're not eating protein, you're eating amino acids. If I gave you a plant, you're eating amino acids. If I give you an animal food, you're eating amino acids. If I injected either, both into your bloodstream, you would die because you have to digest it. So they think, I've never heard about this before. I don't understand what an amino acid is. So we make it fun for them, right? And then we do questions and answers at the end, and we give out little prizes, and we give them homework. We make them go to our website. We have them download all our workbooks, whether it's on what to eat, what's happening in the environment, what's happening with the ocean, everything. And they send us questions, and it's fantastic. So we have to engage more and more schools, That's what makes us jump out of bed in the morning.
Well, I think it's great to look at the younger generation, but as someone who is over 60, I'm very interested in the two of you. You obviously walk your talk. You've been living and breathing these principles for decades. And I want to know what your secret is, because you both look and act amazing. You've got so much energy. What would each of you say is the, 1 to 3 things that are your keys to healthy aging?
Hydrate, eat plants, exercise. People don't move enough. Leslie, they're in chairs, they're driving, they're in front of television. Even Bill, much as I love him and he's a researcher like me, but he sits for hours and I bang up. Bill, set your clock 1 hour, move, because you're pulling your blood, you're messing up your blood sugar. So hydration, I want to talk about that tomorrow. Exercise and eat plants. Honestly, you'll thrive.
That's fantastic. Would you agree, Bill?
Yeah, I think a plant-based diet is not only common sense, it's good politics. It's what we need. We need to move down the food chain, get back to the food that created us in the first place. When people say, "Oh, you're eating plant-based, what do you eat? How do you make a choice?" Well, this is what over 90% of the population of the planet since human beings stood up have been eating a plant-based diet. They've eaten animal source foods when they've needed to. When the environment has said you've got to have more fat in your diet, you have more protein, there's not enough vegetables, the growing season is too short. So getting into plants is really very, very important. And cereal grains. I mean, this is the basis of humanity. It's the basis of culture, and people only get them in white bread, you know. And then you have people demonizing carbohydrate. Well, it's just refined. When we refine and refine, and we take all the goodness out of things, then of course they have a bad effect on our body. You know?
Absolutely. Well, and the healthy centenarian populations in the blue zones famously make plants and grains that are unprocessed a big part of their diet. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, right before the Smart Aging Summit. We're very excited too.
Leslie, anybody that has a pulse, I have to speak to them.
Yeah, good.
That's the truth.
Wonderful. We're going to introduce you to over 200 tomorrow. Thank you so much, Bill Tara and Marlene Watson Tara. Thank you.
Revolution.
Muir. Bring it
That's
on.
right. That's right. Thank you.